Hello. Here at Life with Two YouTubers, we thought it would be interesting to do an international comparison between how we talk and how other countries talk as far as slang and how we pronounce things and words that aren't necessarily the same words. So we're going to start with some basic American terms and then we'll go from there.
Alright, so let's get started. Band-Aid.
I'm not really liking how this is going. What'd you do? Whatever.
Alright, I am Simple Simon and I'm from Melbourne, Australia. There's your first lesson. It's not Melbourne, it's Melbourne. Anyway, let's do this. Okay, we definitely call a Band-Aid a Band-Aid. I don't know how else you would call that, but I'll say it in a real bogan way. Band-Aid. Yeah, so I say Band-Aid, but a bogan would say Band-Aid. If you don't know what a bogan is, look it up.
Hey, I'm Graham. I'm from London, England, or the United Kingdom, or Great Britain, whatever you want to call it. They all work. Right, so Band-Aid. We call them plasters. Yeah, plasters. Band-Aid, I think, is a brand name, isn't it? So that's why it's been. I'm assuming that's why people call plasters Band-Aids, because they used to call them that because it's the. I think it's a brand name. But we know what you mean if you said Band-Aid. But it's also a band, isn't it? Whereas then they do the "Do you know it's Christmas time at all?" Yeah, for charity. I think that was Band-Aid. Yeah, but plasters, interestingly enough, plastered. If you get plastered, it means you get drunk. So plaster for putting on a little cut, and getting plastered means getting drunk.
Hello everyone, I'm Roger. My parents are Cuban, or should I say they were born in Cuba. They came to the United States in the 1960s. I was born here, but I was brought up speaking Spanish because they didn't really speak English. But I lived most of my life in Miami, Florida, where there is a huge Hispanic population. So besides Spanish and English, we used kind of a mishmash called Spanglish. So every once in a while, I may be talking a little bit about that as well. So without further ado, let's get to the first word, which is Band-Aid. In Spanish, my mother used to call this curita. You know, the offshoot or the root word of cure, that it would help in the curing of a cut or of a burn or anything like that. Other than that, I don't remember the Spanglish word. I guess they would say like Bandaid, Band-Aid, Bandaid, but yeah, it wasn't really used so much as a slang word. So that's it for this one. Bandage was kind of, you know, Band-Aid, but curita is the one that we would say at home growing up.
Bangs.
Alright, bangs, I'm assuming you mean the hair. I would just call bangs bangs.
Bangs. I don't really engage in conversation about hair much. You know, we call it. I think probably they call it bangs. If it's like I thought bangs were like individual like strands or something like that. I've heard my girlfriend mention bangs before, but we'd call it your barnet in East London anyway. Barnet, which is Cockney rhyming slang for barnet fair hair. So yeah, your barnet. And if it's a fake barnet, you're wearing a syrup of figs like a wig.
Bangs is next. Obviously, I don't have any anymore. I did used to. So in Spanish, my mom used to call this cerquillo. So she would, you know, when my hair would start growing out too much in the front and so forth, she would say, you know, tiene que cortarte el cerquillo, or you have to cut your bangs, right? So that would be, you know, what we would say at home growing up. Again, I spoke Spanish initially growing up. I didn't learn English till I started getting into kindergarten, things like that. So yeah, bangs. In Spanglish, bang. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think there was really a Spanglish word for that one. So that's what I would say. It said cerquillo, right?
Jelly.
Now jelly was a bit confusing because I thought your idea of jelly was what we call jam, which is like a fruit compote kind of thing that you put on your toast or whatever. We called but then you was going blah, 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 you was making like jelly, like the jelly that we have, which I thought you called Jello. but I don't know. So jelly is like a for us is like I did a after dinner sort of dessert kind of thing, you know, with your ice cream, jelly and ice cream. Whereas jam, which I thought was what you called jelly, is like a fruit thing, for a fruit spread for putting on your toast or whatever, or sandwiches. But I could be wrong. Right.
So jelly, we would definitely say jelly, but there's a famous brand we have here called Aeroplane Jelly. I think it's Australian, so I don't know if anywhere else has it. But there's a very famous song from the ad from when I was a kid, and the song went, "I like aeroplane jelly, aeroplane jelly for me." That's how the song went, and my voice was pretty much sounds exactly the same as the ad.
Jelly. Well, in Spanish we didn't really, well, not in Spanish. When I grew up, we didn't really eat jelly as you know it. We had something called pasta de guayaba, which translates to guava paste, and that's something we would put on Cuban crackers or with cream cheese, etc. I suppose that what you would call jelly, we would call gelatina, but that's really more like gelatin, you know, like flavored gelatin. I think it's close, but it's not the same thing, obviously. But so there's not a specific analogy to that, at least in, you know, growing up the way I did. But my wife is a Southern belle, and they would call it like marmalade or preserves, things like that. But we would call it, you know, what would be the closest comparable thing would be pasta de guayaba.
Cart.
We definitely don't call a cart. We would call a cart a trolley. So yeah, we would call that a trolley. Go get a trolley, put it in the trolley.
Right, now, cart, we call it a trolley as well, shopping trolley. And interesting enough, like plastered, getting trolleyed also means getting drunk, so don't ask me why. Or if you're considered to be off your trolley, it means you're mad. He's off his trolley, or he's a wonky trolley, that kind of thing.
Cart is next. Shopping cart was the picture that I saw there. And in Spanish, we would call this a carrito, or specifically a carrito de compras, shopping cart. But generally speaking, you would say, you know, carrito, which really translates to smaller car, diminutive car, right? But that's what we would say. Again, you know, in Spanglish, we would say, go ahead, cart, you know, get the cart. But yeah, that's the way it would work. But again, carrito would be like, I guess, the one that we would use most often back then.
Elevator.
I don't know how else you would call an elevator. We call elevators elevator, but you could also call it a lift, but I'm guessing everywhere that's the same, I would assume. I'm not sure.
We normally call it a lift. Elevator to me just sounds posh. I think there's probably posh people who will say, we're going to go in the elevator to the 3rd floor. But we just say lift. Get in the lift. Oh, babe, did you fart in the lift again? That kind of thing. Anyway.
Elevator is next. And this in Spanish, it's actually pretty close. Elevador. Obviously, we would have different emphasis on the syllables, etc. But I remember my grandparents used to call it ascensor, which is ascender. And I guess that could be an escalator also, I suppose. But I seem to recall them calling it that around the elevator in the office buildings and so forth we would go to. So again, elevador or ascensor in Spanish. In Spanglish, elevador. Vamos a ir al elevador. You know, let's go to the elevator. Just sort of just modeled it together there. So, elevator, ascensor, o elevador.
Eraser.
Okay, we definitely will refer to an eraser as an eraser, but we normally call it a rubber. So some people would call it an eraser, but a lot of people, when you're a kid, you would be like, pass me the rubber. The rubber. I know in America a rubber is something else, but we won't talk about that.
Right, a razor. Yeah, we call them a rubber. We call them a rubber. Yeah, and Simon was talking about Americans also call condoms rubber. We call them rubber johnnies for some reason. Rubber johnnies. It's what we call condoms.
And what I saw there was a rubber eraser. So we would generally say borrador, which is eraser, but actually that is something that, honestly, I remember that being used like chalk erasers. More than this type of eraser, although it would work, but probably you would say goma, you know, like rubber. But that also means tire, like rubber tire. So you could use either, I suppose. I seem to recall borrador is more for the chalk eraser type, but borrador de goma, I guess, would be the specific, you know, rubber eraser. And in Spanglish, we would say, "Oye, dame la eraser." Yeah, give me the eraser. Yeah. So, but borrador. Yeah.
Flashlight.
Flashlight. I guess we would know what you're talking about if you said flashlight, but we would normally just call it a torch. A torch. We just had a blackout. Anyone got a torch? Yeah, a torch.
A flashlight, yeah, we know what you meant by it, but we would say torch. Yeah, simple.
Flashlight is next. And as I recall, this my parents would call this linterna. Although I think technically that means lantern, but I guess that's the closest analogy to the flashlight. I know that in other English-speaking countries they call them torches. But generally speaking, yeah, they would call them linterna. Although, you know, in a colloquial sense, they would just say luz. Dame la luz. You know, bring me the light. But technically, I believe the closer word would be linterna, you know. And I guess the Spanglish would be, you know, luz. You know, dame la luz. Give me the light.
Mail.
Mail is mail. Well, why would you call it anything else but mail? Mail. Check the mail.
Mail, we normally say post. Post, we will say mail or post really. But yeah, as the post come, as the mail come. But yeah, because we have postmen, we don't have mailmen. I think you have mailmen, didn't you? We have postmen, whatever, and postwomen, of course.
Mail. Not the sexes, but you know, the post office, what they bring and deliver and sort and so forth. So, as I recall, this was called el correo, or the mail coming. Again, that sort of means packages, letters, advertising, etc., etc. If you would just want to say letter, you would say la carta está aquí, the letters are here. You know, that might be a way of doing it, of probably, you know, more common usage, but correo is, I think, technically more correct. Yeah, I mean, in Spanglish, you would just say, hey, there, ahí está el mail. There's the mail. You know, again, Spanish at the beginning, English at the end. But correo is the correct term, I do believe.
Zip code.
Okay, we definitely don't use zip code here. We call it a postcode. What's your postcode? I'm not going to tell you mine because you'll come stalk me.
Zip code. We also have postcodes here in the UK.
Zip code is next. What does that stand for? Zone Improvement Plan, I do believe. But anyway, I think it's código postal, I think is the correct Spanish term for that. But well, nobody called it that. Everybody, you know, just said, hey, zip, you know. Código, what's a zip, you know. ¿Dónde está el zip? ¿Cuál es tu zip? What is your zip? If you, you know, if you wanted to ask, you know, what somebody's zip code is. That's what I generally remember. I don't remember a lot of people saying código postal, although that is technically what it is, I do believe. But yeah, zip code, in Spanglish, you would just say, hey, ¿cuál es tu zip? Zip code.
Soda.
Soda is definitely not very Australian. We wouldn't really call it a soda. If you said have you got any soda? I'll be like, what are you talking about? Soft drink. Soft drink or a fizzy drink. But normally soft drink would be the appropriate term we would use, but sometimes you would just say fizzy drinks. Soft drink.
Soda, we just call it fizzy pop. Fizzy pop. It always sounds funny. I'm gonna have some lovely fizzy pop and some jelly and ice cream later. Mmm.
Soda. Well, people that I recall when I was young, they wouldn't indeed call it just that. Maybe just a little quicker, they would say soda. Maybe not, not so much emphasis on the S there. But my parents used to call it refresco, which I guess technically translates to refreshments. And it's more expansive than just soda. It could be punch and I suppose, spirits, etc. But anyway, that I recall, mostly my parents would call it refresco. But yeah, in colloquial conversation, you would say, "Dame una soda," give me a soda. So, refresco, but soda is very often used for soda. Very few people call it cola, but because of or Pepsi, but it did happen. But I would say mostly, yeah, soda.
Garbage.
Garbage. We wouldn't use garbage too much. You can say garbage, there's no issues there, but we would call it rubbish.
Garbage. Well, this was pretty cut and dry, because I remember my mother used to tell me I think twice a week, Roy, saca la basura. So it's basura, right? Which again means garbage, trash, refuge, whatever. And that was pretty much what we would call it. As I recall, Spanglish, saca la garbage. That didn't happen too much. Basura was pretty much used universally that I recall in Miami growing up. So basura, garbage, yeah, that's what it would be. Like the garbage man would be basurero. So again, all based on basura.
And then finally, garbage. We know what you mean, but we also call it rubbish here in the UK. This is rubbish. Yeah, trash. You say trash sometimes, don't you? But yeah, I think on the level of we call it rubbish, then maybe garbage, and then maybe trash. Anyway, isn't there a band called the Trashmen? Didn't the Trashmen do Surfing Bird? Anyway,
keep it simple.
That's it. I'm out of here. Bye.
Okay, so I think that's it. Hopefully these files are small enough that they can be emailed to you, because the first time around it didn't work out. So thank you very much for making me part of this project. I really enjoy endeavors like this amongst my friends here on YouTube, and I just saw Thegreyman and Simple Simon do their parts, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So thank you, Cade, Rena, and Sharon. Everybody be blessed and be back. Bye.
Our fourth one.
My postcode is... Feel free to send me loads of stuff. And stalk me if you want. I mean, bloody hell, that'd be different. No, I don't really.
Bangs.
And that's it. I don't know what else to add. Do you want me to add anything, Sharon? I don't know. But that is all from me.
Jelly.
Get it together! Oh my gosh, you guys, this is amateur.
Hello, and welcome to this part of the behind-the-scenes / gag reel. And in this part, it's going to be a time lapse of me editing this video. So let's get into that. And we are done.